Hey, CR! Woo! How y'all doing tonight? Good. Hey, we got a few people with us on the live stream tonight. Hey, it's me. There's a little delay. I forgot to turn my volume down. So it's good to see you guys tonight. We're going to get started off here at worship. We got a testimony tonight. We've got some worship. And we're going to, for those that are here in person, we're going to end with a chip time. We just want to let you know that we're going to get started with our live streams going. It's not focused on anything but the stage and the leadership and the worship team. And that's all that we get on this video. And for chip time, it'll not be on the live stream, just so you know. We'll be ending after the testimony. So, you know, we want to preserve our confidentiality and our anonymity for CR, for you guys. That's our promise to you. And hey, I'm Thomas. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I'm celebrating recovery from pornography, and I struggle with control issues and codependency. Hey, family, let's stand and worship. Y'all ready to get rowdy? Sing it with me. High times, high water, on the road that I have wandered. Bridges left burning, a lot of dead end learning. Stone walls I built up, trapped by the way I'm living. I don't want to be a prisoner. I don't want to be a prisoner. I will sing deliverance. I will lift my hands and drop these chains, walk out free in Jesus' name. I will sing a song of deliverance. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, I am shame. My debt's been paid. I am no longer your slave. I will sing a song of deliverance. I will lift my hands and drop these chains, walk out free in Jesus' name. I will sing a song of deliverance.
Hey, everybody. My name is Robert. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ who is celebrating recovery from drug, alcohol, and sex addiction, but is still struggling with people-pleasing and fear of people.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, family. Welcome, everybody. If it's your first time here, we want to welcome you. We're a Christ-centered 12-step recovery program. What that means is that we lean on Jesus Christ as the healer and Savior for our problems. We all struggle with different hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And in fact, that's why we're here tonight, isn't it? You know? And so what we learn is that with the help of one another, and most importantly with Jesus Christ, we can get through this together. So again, welcome everybody who's here. And I want to thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Hey, stay tuned as this week as our steward board will be meeting and discussing the future openings of segments of our church, which would include our small groups. Be praying for our steward board as they make some decisions, and look for an announcement sometime maybe this week if things open up more. Who knows? It's possible that next week we could be in small groups. Amen? Do y'all miss it? Yeah, I do. I need it. All right, let's worship. I've carried a burden for too long on my own. I wasn't created to bear it alone. I hear your invitation to let it all go. I see it now, laying it down, and I know that I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the high, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I'll run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, oh. You saw my condition, had a plan from the start. Your Son for redemption, the price for my heart. I don't have a context for that kind of love. I don't understand, I can't comprehend. All I know is I the Father, fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I'll run to the Father again and again and again and again. Running into your arms is running to life from death. I feel this rush deep in my chest. Your mercy is calling Father again and again and again and again. Oh, again and again and again and again. Again and again and again and again. Amen. Hallelujah.
When I walk through deep waters, I know that you will be with me. When I'm standing in the fire, I will not be overcome. Through the valley of shadow, I will not fear, for I am not alone. I am not alone. You will go before me. You will never
We are privileged tonight to have Andrew Parrott with us. He came all the way from Knoxville to share his story. Before he comes, we're going to let the landing group go to their place of abode. Okay, so we're glad to have Andrew with us tonight. Help me welcome him as he comes to share his story.
All right, I am on. Excellent. Thank you all so much. I'm totally bummed that we lost the youth because that was going to be my barometer. If I saw them go into their cell phones, I would know I'm doing something wrong. But we got to bond. You know, it was awesome. I like to focus on youth when I come into an area like this, or I'm speaking in front of a group, because ultimately that is, I mean, A, you're going to get a lot of honesty, and B, there's a lot of pain in there. I mean, this world is so crazy. And I walked up to him and I said, why are you guys here? What are you guys doing? And the one kid, he looks at me and he goes, I just need help. And wow. I mean, from this 17-year-old kid sitting in a church on is this, Tuesday? And his one plea is, I just need help. Don't we all? I mean, that's what I had to tell him. I said, brother, I am just as broken as you. I just got a little bit of tools, and I got a little bit of direction, and I got a whole lot of God. So thank you. Thank you all for being here. I'm grateful to be here. I'm going to try to stay on script. I heard they're going to be putting that on, but we're going to probably deviate a little bit to some degree. You know, I like to start with kind of where I come from, where I was at, and then let's start talking about solution and really what got me onto a stage and Celebrate Recovery in am I in Greene County? Yes, sir. Okay, Greene County. So I told my friends, I was like, I'm going to go speak in Greene County. They're like, ooh, don't man bun. Just don't. Keep the buns down. I was like, I brought them just in case someone's going to challenge it. I'll throw it up. I'll go 2 space buns. I'm blessed to be here. I was actually raised in Seattle, Washington, and this was a time in my, going through kind of the same motion, and this was in Seattle, it was interesting because I moved to Knoxville, and my father's from Newport, so I get some street cred here in Greene County. But in Seattle, churches aren't on every corner. We don't. In fact, church, God, really wasn't a part of my life at all. I didn't have any. We never went to church. Wasn't a bad guy. He just really wasn't a thing in my life. I had to. The one time I ever met a church was with Adam Walker, and we went to a Sunday school. I was probably about 8, and we made pretzels, and I just went, God's pretty cool. I guess he makes pretzels. That's about all I knew. And as I grew up in Seattle, there was always this brokenness that was going on in me, and this baggage that I seemed to carry. I always felt a little bit different when I would, young kid, no drug. We're not, this isn't drugs and alcohol at this point. This is just a yearning for something to fill this soul, this sort of meat body, this flesh capsule of mine was empty inside. And I knew that when I had someone that would at least kind of, maybe give a hug or give some semblance that we could bond with each other, that we had something in common, at that time it felt like, am I not that different? Yet the more that I lived, the more I felt broken, the more I felt alone and had no God of any kind that I could hold on to at all. It was really me and myself and this emptiness inside of me. That didn't take long for needing something to live. And ultimately, it turned into alcohol at first. Have a few drinks here. I was part of my father was always throwing parties, the mom, have a drink. And one led to this, and when I had a chemical enter my body, it was amazing how at that moment, everything was okay. Everything felt like that wound, that void in me started to go away. And realized that is what I needed to cope with this godless body, this thing that just was yearning. Life continued. I got into, drugs and alcohol, and got into a place where I became a full-fledged addict. If there are any addicts out there, people that are suffering, people that are hurting, the 17-year-old, I'm just hurting, I just need some help, right? We're all broken. It was just that my choice to try to fill that void, it was drugs and alcohol. I was an addict. I became someone that used at every chance I could. My ego, my sin, my addiction, it was running full control. So anyone out there that needs that qualification, because I don't know how many newcomers we have. I'm not sure that, the group here. But I know for me, when I was sitting in those stages, when I was sitting and watching anyone try to talk to me about God, recovery, civility, love, there was a qualification that I needed to have in order to listen. And to me, if I can't hear you, if I'm not willing to listen to you, regardless of my skin, my beautiful hair, my man bun, right? You take all that away, it boils down to, am I willing to just hear God in you, in me? Now, am I broken? Absolutely. Am I qualified? I would ask that you just think of that moment. It may have been this morning. It may have been 10 years ago. But when you were broken, sad, scared, felt like you were 100% alone, felt like there wasn't anything out there that could save you or fix you, and all you knew, the only path that felt like salvation is to end life. If you've ever been in that space, yeah, that's my story too. It's the beautiful thing about this life and this program and being able to start to relate and bond with human beings. I don't bond with Israel, Ralph. I'm bonding with just another soul, and we're all broken. We're all struggling. Now, I know there are people out there that don't know what it's like to sit in that fetal position in the middle of the night and shaking and crying and scared and just praying to God that you don't wake up the next morning, because the next morning I'm going to have to do it again. And that do it again was the most terrifying experience for me. It wasn't the today, it wasn't the now. I can handle the now. It was knowing that I had to do it again that was absolutely terrifying. Yeah, I've been there. I know what that's like. And that's where we're going to relate. So hopefully in that qualification stage where you're looking at the guy with banana shoes, which, yes, they are, that you're not going, oh, man, do I have to listen to him? That's why I need the teenager here. I watch his cell phone usage. I'll call him out every time. But for that, I thank you all, and I hope that you understand that we are in this together, because I have found in this path, in addiction, salvation, God, that it is a we thing. It's a we program. It's a we life, and we have got this. And without that we part, that's when everything becomes kind of meaningless and very alone. So my journey, as I said, it began in Washington State, which, is a little bit different than here. During my growing up, always felt different. Learned that amazing, I don't know if you know anyone like this in your life, it pretty much rings true to me today, that no matter what's going on, if I can make you laugh, it was always, let's have a joke here, and I'm going to cover up all this with some humor and jokes and try to be somewhat of the spotlight. Did all of that until I was about 14 years old. At 14, I was at my buddy's house, and older brother shows up. And he said, and he had some cocaine, and he said, and he threw it out on the table, and he starts doing it. He says, "Hey, want some?" He goes, "No, do you do it?" I said, "Yes, of course I do," because you can't be that guy to back down from. Right? Like, yeah, I was just doing some of the cocaine, and I can't wait to do more of it. That one time, though, that's when I did, and all of those fears became gone. Life shifted. I was an angry addict. I was a violent addict. I was violent to the extreme where if I could hurt you, it validated that I had some worth. Now, sometimes it wasn't always physical, and oftentimes I didn't win the fight. I am not pitching the I'm a tough guy. I'm just pitching that I was really dumb and really broken. It's not about winning the fights, because sometimes, often, it was about losing the fight. Because if I could feel the pain, I was getting exactly what I deserved. That pain needed to be validated constantly. You know, cocaine, heroin, I don't like the war stories. At the end of the day, it was anything I could get my hands on. And that went into about December 20th, 1999. I was, not the baby. Oh, I lost one audience member. We lost the baby. That's all right. December 20th, 1999, I was driving. I was in Tucson, Arizona. And there's a street called Speedway, which, if we're familiar with Knoxville at all, it's like Kingston Pike. You have a 4-lane major thoroughfare similar to that. And I was driving down the street. I've been up for about 3 days, and a minivan was driving next to me, kind of pulls into my lane. At that time, I got enraged. I pulled against him, got his car, ran him off the road, jumped out of my truck, ran over to him. He was probably in his mid-30s, Hispanic gentleman, minivan, pulled him out, tried my best to kill him, just worked him. Police pull up, throw me in handcuffs again, going to jail, all right. And I was looking at this guy, this human being, this soul, as he's bleeding. And the cops ask him, so you want to press charges against this kid? And this guy looked at me and he says, no. I just want to go see my family. Whew. That moment was the defining, it tears me up inside. I didn't know then that an angel had shown up. I had no clue. But I'll tell you, in that moment, after all of the jail time and all of the bad things that I had done and all of these horrible lies and deceits and cheats and anger, that moment it became so clear of who I was. I'm the guy that is trying to kill somebody for no reason at all, and all he wants to do is go to his family. I had no God to lean on. All I had to lean on was hate, anger, and addiction. That's all I could. And that grasp, that ridge gets really small to hold on to. And at that moment, I had nothing more to hold on to. And I went from there. Cops booked me anyway. Turns out my truck was running, whatever. Okay, they got me for a DUI. They took me to the station. They released me that night. And I remember I went home, and I laid in my bed, and I said, it's okay. If there's any God out there, just let my dad, let him know that I couldn't do it. I couldn't make it. I tried my best, but I couldn't make it in this life. I swang, I did strike out. And I said, just tell him it's not his fault. God, the man tried his best. But I'm broken. I'm the problem. I'm terminally unique, and I can't be fixed. So I took as many pills as I could, washed it down with a good old bottle of Old Crow whiskey, which to all you aficionados is the good stuff, and laid in bed and checked out. Unfortunately, or fortunately, that morning came quicker than I thought, and I woke up. I had my DTs, defecated my pants, foaming at the mouth. God, really? I can't even do this right? Seriously? Like, I'm that bad? Rolled out, crawled into the couch, grabbed the Kimber 45, about to end it. Phone rings. And kind of that comical moment where you're about to kill yourself, guns loaded, everything's set, and the phone rings. Well, you never know. That could be important, right? Like, you got to answer the phone. Set the phone down, picked up the phone. It was the only time in my sister lived in London, and it was the only time she had ever called me. Phone rang, I picked it up. first words out of her mouth. Something's going on. What's wrong? God is knocking, right? He kept, I sent you this. I sent you this. God, I'm trying, brother. Do you hear it? That's when I heard it. That was my moment. That was my holy smokes moment. That morning, I took a picture of myself through my camera. So if you develop that film and you're using, don't even wait 1 second. God has shown up. Didn't know it at the time, but something has shown up, and you have no more excuses. You develop that film, you see that picture, you don't wait 1 second, it's over. You take yourself out. You haven't earned it. Here's your chance. I called up a 12-step hotline. I met a guy right there. He took me to my first 12-step meeting. I just celebrated 20 years, December 21st, 1999. Thank you. Thank you. And nothing like being in crowds and groups around the entire world where you can be like, I don't do drugs. And they're like, woo! That's what's great about this program. Like, hey, I haven't done horrible things. Well, give me a hug. Here's a chip. Don't keep not doing horrible stuff. I mean, we can find this everywhere. Like, I like keeping the bar low, right? I'll give you a hug. So, that was my path into recovery. And I know we have a time limit, so I want to make sure that we're good. Good. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to keep dancing, right? Beautiful. If someone throws something at me, I'll stop. So that was my path into recovery, right? But it turns out into recovery, as we all know, I mean, in my show of hands, who's here in the process of recovery? Are we better today than we were yesterday? Are we trying? Do we want it? Am I the 17-year-old that's at least saying, I'm hurt? Right? If we can all agree on that, then we're all on the path because we're all sitting here for a reason, right? We wouldn't be, I don't even know, there's no food and I'm not that good. So everyone here has at least the want, right? Boy, that's the first spark, but I can promise you that spark will go out every single time without the other component, which is willingness. Because you can have all the want in the world. I want this. Oh, I want to feel good, God. But without willingness, I'm here for you. I'm right here. I'll give you a hug. I'll show you what worked for me. I'll give you my experience, strength, hope. I'll hand you 50 numbers that you won't call. But I promise you, if you get a little willingness and make one call to one person that will show that spark some fire, gosh, that is the good stuff. That's where that fills you up, and I promise you, that starts the fire. Get some willingness. When I came into the program, I can tell you that my first 6 months in this program, it was 90 and 90. I was going to meetings. I was doing everything I was supposed to do, and I still do that today. I wake up every morning, and I pray, and I meditate. I wake up every morning. I journal at night. I make sure that I talk to at least one person that's in my corner, and I'm going to be vulnerable with them because I learned really quick that vulnerability doesn't equal weakness. See, in my active addiction, vulnerability gave you an opportunity to hurt me. What I learned, though, is that when I'm vulnerable now and honest with you, you can't hurt me. Right? So I come into this program and I'm working steps and I'm not doing drugs, and there was this God that we had to find. Gosh, I've been blaming God for 10 years about everything that's happened in my life. And now you're telling me I need God? Ooh, caveat, I got to pick any God I want. Sweet. So I take that because, heck, if it's on the buffet and it's the only thing there and I'm starving, I'm going to eat that. So I found a God. It turns out that God was all of you. Now, you may have never met me before, but I can promise you it was all of you because we are one. If we are here and we're trying to be better ourselves and we're trying to stop that pain inside of us, that power in you was in Tucson, Arizona, and it's the exact same power, and that became my God. Caveat, I learned later on that God talks through us. So although I made you all, God, that was my path. That was my journey. I was hearing God when that love, when I said, I hate myself. I'm not doing it right. I'm not going to make it. I'm scared. Individuals that I chose to be around. And I can promise you the people that I was around, they weren't my equals to me. They were better than me. That's what I wanted to be. I didn't hang out with people that were doing the stuff that I was doing before or acting and behaving in the way that I was before because I know where that got me. I was hanging out with those people that went, whoa, that behavior, that attitude, that spark, how do I do that? How do I get there? And when I told them I'm hurting, I'm dying, I'm scared, I don't know what's going to happen, they said, it's okay. Come here, I got you. Let's give you a hug. We're going this direction. And I said, that direction's really scary. I've never been there. They said, that's okay. You're not alone. We're going to do this together. And I walked with them. And I said, well, what do I do now? They said, do this. I said, okay. That same mentality that I had as this little kid that was scared to death, that felt like he was about 12 years old, crying and scared to death, right? That's the same guy I am today. I went from that place. Gosh, I don't even know where I'm in my night if you're using these. So as I progressed through my recovery, I got to about 10 years clean. My father passed away. He had moved in. He got to see all 3 of his babies. He got to see his son get 10 years clean. We had moved him in with us. Every morning I was hugging that man. I loved him so much. And he passed away. And when that happened, I was hit with something. Gosh, this spiritual place, right? Like where I need that grip I was talking about, it started to get a little more difficult to hold on to. And I met a guy in this program who I was actually his sponsor. We'd been working steps, and every time we talked about higher power, he'd bring up his God, and I'd bring up my God, and I'd say, you can keep your God. But I know him, and he wasn't very nice to me. And every time I'd say that, he'd go, brother, I really don't think you understand God. And I said, no, I do. He tried to kill me, he tried to hurt me. He had a lot of friends die. He lost everything. He said, well, but you lived. Ooh. But you didn't die. But you made it. And now you're here, and you've got 3 kids, and you've got an incredible career, and you do this. Do you think God was there then? Ooh. Well, I don't know. I was put in a place where I had to look at some vulnerability. I had to get real serious about what God meant to me because I know I needed it and I was lacking. I was a spiritual being that didn't have a lot of spirit in me, but I had a lot of us in me, and I needed more. And as he talked, that one moment, it was at my house, I asked him, I said, I've never done this before. I said, but I always preach and I tell everyone vulnerability isn't weakness and you got to do what's uncomfortable. That's where you're going to get the growth. I said, will you pray with me? He looked at me and he said, I've never done that either. I'm not sure how I do that. I said, well, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to pray, so you got the keys. He said, I'll give it a shot. And we got down on our knees and we started to pray. And I can tell you, in that moment, my life, that was my December 21st. And that was 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And now I'm vice president at my church, right? Like, there's the amen. Like, holy smokes. All of a sudden, I found in that moment, the door cracked open, and there's God sitting there like, dude, seriously, 10 years? Really? It took that? And yeah, it took that. It took me being willing to hear, right? Me being willing to listen, because I entrust all of you. And I have faith in you. And when I finally gave faith to God, he said, come on. Right? That's the good stuff. And so now I go to church every Sunday, and now I shoot all the production for our... It turns out, by the way, all of you church people, give an inch, take a yard. I mean, seriously? It's like, hey, are you willing to do this? Well, yeah, I can do that. Volunteer. Whoa, really? Hey, can you do that? Yeah, I'll do that. Volunteer. You want to be on council? It sounds important. Boom, 3 years, you're in. Whoa. Yeah. I mean, you talk about willingness. I mean, open yourself up to the church and they are going to get you going. If you're bored, if the words, I don't have anything to do tonight but watch TV and play on my phone, talk to someone at the church. They've got something for you. And speaking of that, the reality of my program in my life and part of my recovery that makes it incredible is service work. I've got to give back what was so freely given to me. Not one person in here had to pay a toll to walk and sit in this pew. Every Sunday, if I give, I'm giving from my heart, not because someone's saying I have to, right? So I encourage service work. It is the stuff that gives value. And to give that back, the rewards, oh, praise Jesus. By the way, here's a cool thing about Celebrate Recovery, which is why now I've kind of opened myself up to do these all over the place. It was Celebrate Recovery the first time, and I'm going to say it again for the second time on camera. I am a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, good stuff. You know, I've been with the church on council and all that, but I was at my first Celebrate Recovery, and I heard a guy say that, and I went, ooh, I don't know if those words have ever come out of my mouth. I can play the role, but am I going to step up to the plate? And I got up on that stage, and all of a sudden, I was standing there. My wife was actually with me. It was my first time at Celebrate Recovery speaking, and those words came out of my mouth, and my wife goes, whoa! I was like, don't, you just totally threw me under the bus. So from that point on, I kind of throw myself under the bus because you know what? I am a grateful believer in Christ, and thank all of you. Oh, man. You know, that's a lot of that big, broad brushstroke of God and recovery and vulnerability and everything. What I want to leave this with is truly, all of you, I love you. I know the hurt. I know the pain. And I know that there's a better way. And it's got nothing to do with the amount of money in the bank. And it's got nothing to do with what you drive or what phone you've got or any of that. Because I have seen some of the brightest smiles on myself and others when there is a connection with God and when there is a perspective that is aligned that says you, I, we are loving, shining spirits of God. You get that in line, throw a little willingness in there, throw a lot of want in there, and dang it, we got this. I'm here for all of you. I love you all. Thank you so much for letting me share. That's all I got. Thank you, brother.
Amen. Hey, we're gonna have our chip time here in a minute, but before you guys stand with me and let's sing a song of worship. It's actually an invitation for you. If you're here tonight, we're getting ready to give away blue chips, and maybe tonight's your night for that. If you're watching tonight and you want to know more about Celebrate Recovery, give us a call. Ask for Pastor Ralph, Pastor Thomas. We'll be glad to talk to you. We'll be glad to get you a blue chip if you need one. Come out of sadness from wherever you've been. Come broken-hearted, let rescue begin. Come find your mercy, oh sinner, come near. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can't heal. So lay down your burden, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. There's hope for the hopeless and all those who stray. Come sit at the table, come taste the grace. There's rest for the weary, rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can't cure. So lay down your burden, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. Fall in His arms, come as you are, come as you are. There's joy for the morning, oh sinner, be still. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can't heal. So lay down your burden, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. Come as you are. Come